Hey everybody, it's Jenny McGarvey and I am back with you today to share how I planned in my classic happy planner. This is the This Is Your Year version, and as you can see I planned last week with that fun rainbow color scheme and I still am obsessed with it and just cannot get enough and want to plan every week as a rainbow week, but luckily I don't feel the need to do that. And this week I'm going to be working with some stickers from Sticker Guru on Etsy. I will link you up in the comments to the shop. They have so many super cute yet really functional kits, and I'm gonna flip through this one right here. This is their Vivid kit, Vivid, and I was really super drawn to the geometric shapes, the watercolors, and just the overall color palette. I thought it was really super pretty, and since we are now into the first week of spring, why not use that one for something super colorful and fun? I pulled out my hexagon punch to work with this week because a couple of months ago I had made a scrapbook layout and I used the hexagon punch that I've had for years on it, and I decided this would be super fun to use in my planner. So punching out a couple of hexagons here throughout the week, and I really loved it, and I love how I can make a kit my own by doing that. So as you can see, I took a decorative sticker, punched out a hexagon, and then layered on top of it just a little strip, and then also combine it with a teardrop sticker. And what's really cool about that is that I am able to really get all of the information necessary and have it be super fun. Now, like I have been doing lately, I'm switching up how I'm doing my to-do lists. And so for on Monday, because I had an afternoon activity, I'm putting my to-do list right there down in the bottom. And I'm using one of those checklists versus the whole box sticker to do that. And I'm loving this kit because there's so many different options and I can choose all of the different things that work for me, and I can see how absolutely the leftovers are going to work really awesome too. Now there's the full box to-do list stickers, and they're so pretty, and I love that it comes in a couple of different color schemes. You've got the pink one, and then you've also got the blue or blue and green one, and they're just both really, really cute, and I look forward to using all of the rest of these as well. Now there's also these great activity stickers, and what I like about them is that there's the white, and you can really see what I'm writing there. A lot of other shops have patterned ones that I don't love maybe quite as much because it's a little bit harder to write on them. And these are really super fun. And I love these little decorative stickers too. I'm sure they're to cover up the headings or those kinds of things in a planner that has those, but since mine doesn't have those, I don't need them. And I can just use these more plain ones for writing activities and events. Talk about multi-purpose. I am just doing the same thing that I did on Monday, which is writing my activity on that strip, but I wrote a little too big and didn't fit the whole thing on there. So I'm going to have to pull out a different one and use that, which is kind of a bummer, but it happens. It's not a big deal, and there's plenty of other ones to choose from. Now I am going to finish writing out my activities and stuff like that for Tuesday. And obviously, I have quite a few things going on, so I have a lot to write out. But one of the fun things is that I was so jazzed during making this because these were brand new stickers to me. I was still just kind of thinking the whole time about how I would use these stickers and how could I make them work to the best of the not the best of the ability, but how could I make them really function? So as you can see here, I punched a half hexagon and then I did place it over where the discs go, but I just trimmed the teeny tiny bit that was hanging over. And so now I have a half hexagon, which I'm always a big fan of. I'm not sure why. And now I'm punching a full hexagon and I'm going to place that right next to it. And I love how it just gives this whole geometric flair. It's just really fun. And then, like I said already, the colors together are really fantastic. Now I'm going to continue building upon it, adding a couple of different little stickers together. One of the ones that's pre-printed, and then also the one where I can add my own text, which says late start. Now, that wasn't enough for me. I had to go ahead and punch yet another half hexagon sticker because, I mean, two, that just wouldn't work. I need three. If you know me, I'm fixated on the visual triangle and the using the three little things and how they look better together. Again, loving it. It's super fun and I love that it's going to be right there, right up next to the discs. and how that last little bit that I added was able to fit right in between those holes. So I'm going to be able to just slide that right in without any additional cutting. Now I have an activity that I'm going to write on Tuesday, and what I did was I chose one of those stickers that had the pre-printed icons on it that I knew that I was probably never going to use. And then I covered it with an icon that fit the activity. And I think it turned out really cool. I love the sort of variegated look, how they kind of go together. And then I made something that I wouldn't ordinarily use into something that totally works for me. Now I switched up my to-do list again and put it in the afternoon because I have Wednesday evening activities. And then I'm using one of these small checklist boxes for an activity. Now theoretically, obviously, it's probably thought of for things to do so you can check those off. But I also like using those types of things when they work for activities. Now it's time to move on to the second half of the page, and since I'm doing something that's completely different for me, I felt like I really needed to leave that left-hand space where I could see it so that I was not overdoing certain elements and just so I could keep a good handle on what was going on the page. Now I'm adding an activity for Thursday afternoon, and it's a baseball game, of course, because what else would there be? I'm knee deep in baseball games, and I don't actually have any activities for Friday. So I do have a whole lot of activities for Saturday. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the leftover decorative stickers and I'm just going to go to town punching them with my hexagon punch. And I will allow those to spill over into Friday and into Sunday as well. Now I will use a decorative one. However, I'm leaning heavily on the more watercolor looking ones just so that I can actually write directly on top of them without having to add other stickers. Now, after I look at this, I probably should have still covered up some of these plain stickers, and I say plain with a grain of salt because they're actually not plain. They're really pretty on their own with the decorative watercolor, but they don't have the pattern. I should have probably covered a couple of them still, or maybe one of them, just to add a little bit of interest to make them look a little bit different, but live and learn, right? Next time I will definitely do that. And I can say with complete confidence that this is not the last time you'll see me using a kit from Sticker Guru. These are really cute. Now you knew I couldn't leave well enough alone. I had to add that half hexagon because I just really am very excited about those. And then also just add that today sticker. I think it's cute and I think it kind of finishes that right out. So I'm pretty excited to have used that one there. Now again, I just pulled out one of those little decorative washi strips to write my activity on that patterned hexagon, and then also reached for the little teardrop as well because it makes it just a little bit more functional, especially for a sticker where you don't have quite as much room. Now I'm going to finish filling out all of those different hexagons with all of our activities because like I said, Saturday is really crazy. But when I get finished, it's good. I definitely like the colors, I like the whole thing, but there's a little bit of something still missing. So I'm laying down the weekend, kind of thinking about what else can I do to make it all come together. And I like to keep that in the back of my mind while I work on other things. So for example, putting down that activity on Thursday that I forgot, putting down the weekend banner, those types of things, because it helps me kind of think while I'm working on other things that are a little bit of a no-brainer. So I can add my to-do list for Friday. It doesn't really require a whole lot of thought. And I can also sort of in the back of my mind be mulling on what should I do to make that Sunday work a little bit better. And by Sunday, I actually mean the whole weekend. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to punch that last watercolor hexagon and I'm going to move it to Sunday because I do have one activity for Sunday. I trim off the little bit of excess and then I'm going to pull out my Tombow brush pen and write my activity there. And then I just have the tiniest bit of decor left to add, and then that's it for me for this week. Thank you so much for stopping by and watching my video. I really do appreciate it. If you enjoyed it, please leave me a thumbs up. And if you have any questions, leave it in the comments box below, and I will do my very best to get back to you. Thank you so much, and make it a great day.